Introduced David Culley as the new head coach today. Take a listen to him and Caserio.
Organizationally, just want to reiterate our commitment to Deshaun Watson. He's had a great impact on this organization, a great impact on a lot of people, a great impact on this team. And we look forward to the opportunity to spend more time with him here this spring once we get started. And, you know, we have zero interest in trading the player.
Deshaun Watson's a Houston Texan. He's a quarterback of the Houston Texans. And that's all that I was concerned about. And that's all I knew. And whatever was been said about what he wanted to do or he didn't want to do, all I know is this: having been in this business this long, you know, he is a Houston Texan. I want him to be a Houston Texan. And the reason I'm in this position today is because I knew he's going to be a Houston Texan. The outside stuff that was being said was irrelevant to me.
So you saw GM Nick Caserio first there, and then new head coach David Culley second. Marcus Spears' face says a lot. We're getting to you, Marcus, but Field, we begin with you. It's not like the Texans were going to say today, oh, yeah, we're looking to trade Deshaun Watson, right? Well, Field. I guess we don't have Field. That was a very long pause, though. It was fun to watch us all really marinate in that. All right, Marcus, I'm going to ask you that same question. And now Field's talking because it's finally gotten to him. But we're going to go to you, Marcus. What do you think about what the Texans said today? Obviously, they weren't going to just start trading Deshaun Watson away.
No question, Els, and it was absolutely irrelevant. I mean, to be honest with you, Cal McNair wasn't up there saying that, and that is the fundamental issue with the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson could care less about what Caserio has to say, Coach Culley, and I feel terrible for David Culley coming into this particular situation, but I keep screaming that this is between the player and ownership. It's nothing at that press conference that was going to happen today that came from Culley or Caserio that was going to change the situation. Deshaun Watson has already pressed that he wants out of Houston. When he said that, all of the hiring, all of the posturing at the press conference, all of the talking about Deshaun Watson will be here and I took the job because I knew he would be here, you don't know that. And more than likely, he will not be your quarterback, David Culley. And listen, this is not, you had a head coach that's been in this league for 27 years, almost 30 years, at his first press conference with the opportunity to be a head coach, and you put him on the podium to misspeak instead of giving him some kind of point or something to say about the Deshaun Watson situation other than Deshaun Watson is going to be the Texans quarterback. Deshaun Watson has said he doesn't want to be the Texans quarterback. So best of luck with that. That's what I think about it, Els.
Yeah, Marcus is right. I mean, at the moment, the connection between Houston and Deshaun Watson is about as bad as us and Phil Yates and whatever's going on with his internet. It's not great, folks. Now, but, you know, I can't blame anyone in Houston for saying he's on the Texans because what else are they supposed to say? Yeah, he's gone. We're having a fire sale. I mean, the best possible outcome for the Texans is, of course, to keep Deshaun. The second best possible outcome is to get a haul for him in a trade. This is, of course, complicated by the fact that he has a no-trade clause, so he can veto destinations. Because if there wasn't a no-trade clause, 25 teams at minimum should be on the phone with Houston. The last few days, Marcus, have been interesting because it's been very revealing. We have learned who actually watched Deshaun Watson play football this year. Because everyone who's saying 4-12 and he wasn't good clearly did not watch a down of the Houston Texans because he is a top 5 quarterback in this league. So what the Texans need to do, if they cannot repair the relationship, which seems to be likely, is figure out how can we maximize our return based on the destinations he'll agree to. And I'll say this, if they can't get anything good for him and he won't agree to anything, they're better off just letting him sit for the season and try again next year. That's how valuable he is as an asset.
Wow, yeah, Mina, I mean, he only led the league in passing, right? So I don't know, maybe people missed that somehow. Marcus, I want to get to you on, ideal destinations for Deshaun, right? Because there are some really interesting ones. I feel like every time you load up social media, it's another photo of Deshaun Watson in somebody else's uniform. But what do you think would be the best spot for him?
Well, according to a lot of people, Els, there's no ideal destination because Deshaun Watson ain't that good. Idiots. Listen, this is the spot for him. The Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, to me, would be the #1 destination. And I get it. I understand what the Jets have in capital. I understand what the 49ers have with Jimmy Garoppolo's deal and not really owing him a lot of money. But when you look at what the Dolphins have done, the Dolphins have positioned themselves to be a contender not only in the AFC East, but a contender in that conference. And when you think about the moves that they made last year, bringing in Kyle Van Noy, bringing in Byron Jones, they've been building, right? They've been building up until this point. And then another caveat, when you think about the Dolphins, they interchanged their quarterbacks this year. So look, I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on Tua, but Deshaun Watson is better than Tua. He's an upgrade over Tua, and it's a more known commodity than Tua. So you insert Deshaun Watson into the Miami Dolphins lineup, now you got a team that can legitimately go to the AFC Championship, and you feel good about who your quarterback is competing against Patrick Mahomes if you get Deshaun Watson. So for me, that's an ideal place. Everywhere else I could understand is wishful thinking. Would I love to see him in Indy? Hell yeah. But more than likely, that's not going to happen. Would I love to see him in New Orleans? I know the cap situation, but yeah, he would obviously make that team better. He'd make any team better that needs a quarterback of Deshaun Watson's stature, but Miami is that spot.
All right, so we're living dangerously today on NFL Live. We've got Field Yates back. We think I'm going to ask you a question, Field, and then I'm going to read the phone book and see how long it takes you to answer. Anyway, just kidding. Tell me what you think about this whole Texans situation.
Well, Laura, first of all, I had the best answer of my television career. No one heard it earlier except for my dog, who barked in approval. He was so excited by it, he scratched the door to get let out. So God bless the internet. I've only been doing this for almost a year now on TVU. We finally figured it out. In terms of the Texans and Deshaun Watson, so what I was going to say earlier when you asked me about whether it was expected, what we heard today from Nick Caserio and David Culley, the answer is unquestionably that's what we expected them to say. Stand behind the idea that Deshaun Watson is not going anywhere. But as you also alluded to, you can't go up there and say, yeah, we're open for business. This is all about leverage. And certainly the Texans' ultimate goal is to build this relationship back up with Deshaun Watson. But at some point, there has to be a moment where the Texans look in the mirror and look at what has gone on with Deshaun Watson up to this point and decide, we may not be able to salvage this relationship. And so we need to look first in our own interest for what would be the best available offer that we could make. And if Deshaun's amenable to it because he has that no trade clause, even better, which is why Marcus's point about the Dolphins being such an attractive destination for Deshaun also goes the other way. They have the 3rd overall pick in the upcoming draft. You'd figure that will be part of a potential trade offer as well. And if you're Houston, not only are you having to trade away Deshaun Watson, but you better have an answer of how you're going to fill him, and that 3rd pick could be the answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you look for potential destinations for Deshaun, you've got to think about teams that have a lot of draft picks or at least some really high ones in this upcoming draft in the 1st round. We're just made an extremely strong case for himself, and Carson Wentz is the guy owed big money. So, Coach Sirianni, what are you going to do with the QBs?
We have 2 quarterbacks in Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts that are top-notch. That are top-notch quarterbacks, and a lot of teams don't have any. And so just really excited to work with both of them.
So does that mean that there will be an open competition at quarterback if they both return?
That's something that we have to look and evaluate, and I'm not ready to say that either way yet. We're just evaluating our players, evaluating every position.
So I feel like we've all been just assuming that there would at least be some sort of quarterback competition, potentially. Deep breaths, woosah. Marcus Spears, Field, we start with you. What are the chances there's a quarterback competition in Philly?
Yeah, I'll say this, Laura. During the Eagles coaching hiring practice, there was a belief by many around the NFL that they were looking for a coach whose intention was to get Carson Wentz back on track. And there are more admirers in the NFL than I think there probably are in the court of public opinion right now who think back about Carson Wentz in 2019 and think that there's a version of him still capable of rediscovering. That being said, I do think it's worth noting that Nick Sirianni did not declare one way or the other whether Carson Wentz was going to be the guy going into next year, and that he did make an interesting hire on his staff. Brian Johnson, his new quarterbacks coach, has known Jalen Hurts since Jalen was 4, as Brian played on a team coached by Jalen's father. And I'm not saying that automatically suggests that Jalen Hurts is definitely going to be the starter in Philly or even has a great chance, but there's at least a rapport and a relationship there. And this feels to me more and more by the day like an open competition for 2021.
Really interesting point. Mina, I'm coming to you, but I got to go to Marcus here because I don't know if he's fallen asleep in his chair or what's happening. Marcus, why are you upset right now?
Because I hate that we put Phil in this position to try to add some kind of narrative to this story. Sirianni know damn well he was hired to get Carson Wentz to be the starter. Like, look, man. All right, y'all already know. We do this show every day. We cover this league. Y'all know these people. Like, y'all know these people hired this man for Carson Wentz. We saw Doug Peterson get fired after everything that transpired. We saw Jalen Hurts outplay Carson Wentz, and the man just sat on TV and told y'all he don't want to commit to it being a quarterback competition. How much else do we need to know that this move was made for Carson Wentz to be the starter? We don't need any more. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mina. Go ahead. I mean,
no. I think you're reading the tea leaves correctly, right? I mean, beyond Peterson getting let go after reports that him and Wentz couldn't work together, Sirianni obviously has ties to Frank Reich, who we know has a connection to Carson Wentz. He said Howie Roseman, who drafted Carson Wentz, would have control over 53. Everything seems to be pointing in that direction. But our job isn't to tell you what will happen, it's to say what we think should happen. I think there should be a quarterback competition because last season Carson Wentz was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, Jalen Hurts was far from perfect, but he outplayed him. Okay, so based on what we saw last season, there should be a quarterback competition. And we can say that over and over and hold their feet to the fire instead of, giving up and saying, it's over, it's Carson's job, the Eagles are going to be bad again. Let's say what we think should happen, which is that these two young quarterbacks should be allowed to compete.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that Phil brought up, too, the fact that Carson Wentz is still well revered in a lot of league circles, and that's because of putting that on tape at least one season, right? So sometimes people think in their own minds, well, we can get that greatness back out of him. And that's obviously a big reason why Sirianni is there. All right, Field, Senior Bowl, let's get to it. And you were actually in Mobile, Alabama this week, watching some of the top prospects from across the country. Who stuck out to you?
Yeah, let's start at the wide receiver position, Laura. A good group on the whole, but I could not keep my eyes off Western Michigan's Dwayne Eskridge. He's only 5'9", but the guy simply could not be covered all week. Explosive, fast, made catches outside of his frame. He previously played cornerback in college, so you know he's athletic. He's a guy that's quickly transitioned. to wide receiver and done so rather seamlessly. I think he's going to be a top 50 overall pick. And then we got to give some love for the offensive lineman, especially a Division III offensive lineman, and Quinn Meinerz, who you could not stop looking at him because he went with the Ezekiel Elliott crop top jersey look. Now, he's just slightly more robust.